Finally, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Paranormal Brew. I'm your host, Taryn Hamby, and I am coming to you from a different room in my house, so I apologize if the sound isn't that good or the picture isn't that good, but we unfortunately had a leak this morning, a very large leak um, in my house that found out started last night. So I was laying in bed and I was hearing this noise. It sounded like paper. And I was like, what is that noise? What is that noise? And my husband's like, I don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just hearing things. And I fell asleep. Woke up this morning. I get to get out of my bed, and I start to do whatever. And I'm hearing the noise. And I'm like, what is that? It's in my studio room, right? So I go in there. Water's just pouring down from the ceiling, down the wall. So right now it is off limits. There's a dehumidifier in there. We got the leak taken care of, but I'm in my Gettysburg room. So here I am. Hi Chris, how are you, babe? Let me see. I don't know if I'm getting a little choppy reception or whatever here, so I don't know. Um so so that's where we are with that. I had to do the show in my Gettysburg room. So hopefully by next week I'll be back into my studio and everything will be all normal. I want to say cheers to everybody. I am having a glass of wine. I've had a bit of a rough couple of days. So hey Vic, if anybody, please go follow Destination Spooky. It's so awesome. It's such a good channel. It mixes haunted with, really cool abandoned places and spooky places. And I love it. Hopefully one day me and him can collab together and do something together because I love what he does. He does some really cool, fascinating stuff. And he goes to places I didn't even know about, like that existed. So go check him out, Destination Spooky. Um, so anyway, um, I came on tonight. And I'm like, okay, I haven't been live in a while. And it wasn't sure what I was going to talk about, but yesterday I got a message from a very good friend of mine who also is a very faithful paranormal brew watcher, and she thought that she had a deja vu experience, and she's from Indonesia, so she, sometimes, what their understanding of things might be a little different of our understanding of things. So she had told me that she had deja vu and she wanted to tell me her story. Um, and I really wish she could have came on and told this story herself, but 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 I asked her if I could share her story and she said yes. So it's really interesting because after reading it, I said, you had a premonition. That wasn't deja vu, in my opinion. And you guys can, help me out with this, but I really do believe that she had a premonition. And dreams, I feel like I've had dream premonitions and dreams and stuff, and I feel like a lot of us maybe have experienced something like that. Why it happens, how it happens, it's crazy to me. My premonition dreams were always more weather related, and they would come to me in ways, it comes to me in ways, like, it's not like blatant, you know what I mean? It's not like I had a dream the week before, 1 or 2 weeks prior to that huge tsunami, uh, few years, like, I can't remember when that huge tsunami was, that it hit I can't remember when that was, but I had a dream 2 weeks prior to that, that I was in the middle of the ocean in a glass house, and I was with, 12 people, and I was holding a baby in my arms, and I said, "We need to take cover. There's a humongous wave coming, and we have to take cover. We have to take cover." And everybody was like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, "We have to take cover. There's a huge wave coming. There's a huge," and that's all I kept saying. And then finally, this huge wave came, took the house out. I don't remember. I didn't get hurt, but I was in the middle of the ocean then, holding this baby, and I woke up. Well, 2 weeks later, that tsunami happened. I also had a premonition dream where, you know, um, I live in a really small town where no weather stuff really happens. We never get tornadoes. But I had a dream that I was at my brother's house, and I was looking out the back window, and I said, "Oh my God, there's a tornado." I was like, What is a tornado doing touching down in the town that we live in?" And a week or two later, we had a tornado touchdown. Um, that one was the only one that was like to the point. I had another one where I was at my old job, and I was with my old boss, and we were at the spot where we used to hang out outside. And he was taking golf, that I think they're called pins, but they had the pins where you put the golf balls on them, and to hit the ball. And he was taking those, and he put them in on four corners on the ground. And he said, "Stand back." And when I stood back, all the earth just started, like, it was almost like it was like a mudslide. It just started to slide and move, and this and that. And then 1 week later, California had this big, huge mudslide. So is it interpretation? Yes. Right? Like, I mean, that could have signified anything, but, to me, I was like, "Holy crap, I'm having like dreams similar to what these things are happening." I haven't had one in a while, but, you know, to me, that's what you would call a premonition, maybe. And maybe some people would think I was crazy, or I was reading too much into my dreams. Who knows? I don't care. Whatever. You can think whatever you want. But I would like to share her story because her story is really cool. And um, she said she's always been afraid to tell her story because she thinks people won't believe her. But you know what? At this day and age, like, Jing, if you're watching, honey, listen to me. It doesn't matter if people believe you or not. Like, you shouldn't worry about people believing you or not. Um, because it doesn't matter. You could totally be um 100% telling the truth, and you're going to have people that don't believe what you say. You're going to have people that don't believe the stuff that you experience, and that's okay. That's what makes the world go round. And a difference of opinion is always, "Hi Joe, how are you? Thanks for joining us." Um, a difference of opinion, it's always good to hear difference of opinion. So I want to read her story. Now, again, she's from Indonesia. They are very spiritual people. They believe in, demons, and they believe, they're into all that stuff. So I'm going to read it. So forgive me because, you know, I'm not looking at you. Hi, Mary. How are you? So happy to see you here. I'm glad you could catch. I don't know why I'm frozen. I'm frozen again. Okay. Maybe you guys can still see me moving, and it's just me. So, oh my gosh, I'm still frozen, aren't I? Am I frozen? Can you guys tell me? All right, hold on. I don't think we saw Mary. There she is. Hi, Mary. Oh, I'm good? Okay. All right. On my end, I was frozen. Okay. So she says, here is my story. In October of 2021, I had a dream one night that I just finished hanging out with some of my girlfriends. Now, for you to remember a dream from 2021, you know that it left an impact and you know that it did something to you. I mean, I had a dream, I think I had a visit dream with my dad in 2005, and I still remember that like there was nothing. So when I feel like when you remember stuff, um, that specific. So for her to remember this in 2021, it had to leave a mark. All right, sorry. So she says, in October of 2021, I had a dream one night that I had just finished hanging out with some girlfriends and was in their car. They dropped me off at a location where I intended to buy a bus ticket to get home. The road looked deserted, resembling the mountain roads I used to travel on vacation in the 70s and 80s when I was a child. And then I entered She said, and then I entered this gated area and I heard faint music playing in the corner, which seemed to be a club, and voices of several men talking. I avoided that area for fear of the men being unsavory or drunk. So I walked to the right and found a staircase leading up to a house above. I assumed it was the ticket counter where I would buy this ticket to take the bus home. When I entered the house, three women were talking, and one was sitting behind a table. After a few minutes, there was no sign of anyone selling tickets. So I asked them, but no one heard me. They didn't even see me. They didn't acknowledge me. I began to suspect they were prostitutes. She's so cute. I started to get anxious and confused how I could get home. In the dream, it was already 10 p.m. I immediately left the house and headed out of the area to the highway looking for a vehicle. I saw there were several stores along the roadside. I came to them and asked the shop owners, but none of them saw me. None of them heard me. None of them answered me. Suddenly, I woke up in the morning. The dream felt strange, but then I dismissed it and didn't think about it anymore. She says, now, if I'm not mistaken, in December 2022, I decided to separate from my husband and moved my house and moved out of my house with my son. On January 8th, I started commuting to work from my new home. While the streets I traveled were unfamiliar to me because I moved to a different city from my old house, on the fifth day, I was on my way to work. By chance, my taxi got stuck in traffic. I accidentally turned to the left and I was shocked. I found the exact location of my dream. I was stunned, speechless, and goosebumped. I became curious and thought about that location. Why did I dream about it? There must be something. Finally, I decided to go to that location to find out if there was any meaning to my dream. I managed to meet the owner of the area. It turns out that place is now a Volkswagen repair shop, and he set up a small cafe there. Besides that area, there is a river. I went to that location several times and met the owner until finally the story was revealed that the river next to it was a river where in the 70s it was used as a dumping ground for the bodies of people who were kidnapped and murdered. Unalived. Sorry. I don't know what I'm allowed to say and not say on YouTube because I'm not that YouTube savvy. Anyway, they were people who were against the government. At that time, these cases were known as Petrus, Peter if it reversed in English. That is the name of the mysterious gang that kidnapped and disposed of the bodies of the unalived people. What I experienced was like a divine guidance to reveal the location of the dumping of the bodies of the tragedy in the 70s, which had been unknown to the public for a long time. This explains why the location is known for its haunted and frequent accidents. Coincidentally, next to that location is also an abandoned mansion whose hauntings have been widely broadcasted on YouTube, and several Indonesian paranormal teams have investigated there. So, my dream provided many answers to the tragedy. So, she shows me a photo um, of the location. I don't know if you guys can see it. She circles the house and a video. She said the owner said that one of the employees had been possessed at times. Now you have to remember Indonesia, they look at things differently. They believe in things differently. So, I might not subscribe to everything that is being said, but she does. She believes it. And that's part of their culture. I did have her on one time and we did talk about the Indonesian culture surrounded around spirits and how what they think. um, she said the owner said that one of his employees had been possessed and sometimes at 2 a.m. would hear a woman crying. I concluded that the woman I spoke to in my dream were spirits. Maybe they need help. So she's putting these things together. And I told her, I asked her if I could share her story, and she said, yeah. Um, she said, if I had more time and were a researcher, I would have researched that area and the house more. The house turned out to be abandoned, but there was a mystery. No one could enter that house. It seemed that nobody lives there, but in every evening when I passed that house from work, I saw the lights were turned on. Coincidentally, beside the tragedy that occurred on that area, there was another story about the house. The house was to be inhabited by a wealthy family. Then one night, their house was burglarized and a fight ensued between the owner and the burglar. The burglar was unalived and his body was thrown into that same river. I was shocked, not expecting to receive a clue to a major Indonesian political tragedy while I think I wasn't born yet at that year or was still a baby. So she's saying like in the 70s when this happened, she didn't know because she was just a baby. She had no idea that all these tragedies happened around there, but she was seeing these visions in her dream. I'm still curious about the place, and I felt goosebumps when I tried to get closer and walk to the stairs. But sometimes, at unexpected times, while I'm working and focusing on my work, this location suddenly appears in my vision, as if they, the spirits, still need me, and there's something unfinished to help them and doing the research. So, she said, I really appreciate it and glad if you are willing to share this story with the Brew or any other paranormal teams. Um, so she initially thought that she had what she called deja vu, and I said, that sounded like to me more of a premonition. I don't know. I mean, premonitions are let's look that up. So that I exactly give oopsie. Hold on. And what am I doing besides messing this whole thing up? I'm not as good at this as like Florio and people that stop their and try to research. Anyway, hold on. Eek! I just want to get the exact premonition. All right. Premonition meaning. There's a movie called Premonition, in case you guys wanted to check that out. I had no idea. Come on. Okay. So a premonition is a strong intuition, feeling, or sense that a future event, typically an unwelcome or negative one, is about to occur. That I didn't know. I didn't know that premonitions were mainly based around unwelcome or negative happenings. But when I think about the ones that I had, I mean, they were all bad things that happened. Um, and what Zhang experienced, there were like she had several things happen. I think the movie. Oh, hey everybody. She had several things happen. Not only did she uncover past that she didn't know existed because she wasn't even born yet, or she was just a baby. She also saw this location in her dream and then unknowingly sees it later. Um, uh, hey, Mandy. How are you, babe? Okay, here. Premonition is pretty good. I didn't even know that there was a movie about it. I'm going to have to see it. Do any animals die? I need to know that before I watch it. Because if so, then I can't watch it. Hey, Chris. I didn't see you were there. You said no to something earlier. Oh, that I was frozen. You said no. Um, So I didn't even know. I didn't even realize that premonitions were mainly based on like negative things that were going to happen. That really stinks. If anybody ever has a premonition about me in it and it's not good, please don't tell me. um, so what do you guys think about premonitions? Have any of you ever had any premonitions? I would love to share your story. Um, or even you could even come on and talk about it if you've had a premonition. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Ghost Sister Mandy. Um, we just recently did. I hope you guys watched it. If you didn't, you should check it on Paranormal Reality TV. Um, we did a little investigation at the Hoover House haunted, and I worked with alongside Mandy mostly, and she's so awesome. If you don't follow Ghost Sister, go follow Ghost Sister on Facebook. Um, I don't, Mandy. Do you have a YouTube channel? Um, I think you're on TikTok. She's probably on all the social media platforms, but she's the sweetest little gem, and I just love her to bits. I'm so happy that we got to work together, and I hope we get to again. Kristen, I don't think so. I don't remember any animals dying. I saw it so long ago. Okay, thanks. I think you can Google that now. You can Google if animals die in this movie, so I could probably look it up. But I mean, you hear of this stuff all the time, and I guess, like I said, Zheng not only had this premonition where of this location. When I say a premonition, she envisioned this location she didn't even know existed. You know what I mean, in her dream, but she also dreamt about events that happened or a location where something tragically happened there. And then the three women. I mean, we could always probably make something out of nothing if you really try. I mean, pareidolia with everything can occur, right? But if that's what she believes, I'm not going to sit here and say you're wrong because that's her belief. And you're allowed to believe what you want to believe. I am 100%. I will never argue with anybody about what they believe or how, because it's perception, it's belief. I will never argue. I may say that I don't agree and I may give my take on it, but I will not say you're wrong because how do I know? We don't know. That's the beauty of the unknown. Hmm. Food for thought. um, so, and then you have deja vu. Deja vu, premonitions, can they go hand in hand? I don't think so. I think a premonition is exactly what it is. I think deja vu is really freaky to me. That is something that I can't explain. We all experience it. Everybody experiences deja vu. Everybody. And the mind is such a powerful, wonderful tool that we have, and we don't even use most of it. I can't imagine, I think geniuses and even people, I hope I'm going to be politically correct when I say this. If not, I apologize. I'm not trying to be mean, but like people on the spectrum, like the autistic and people like that, I feel like they use different parts of the brain that are more advanced than ours, even though it doesn't seem like it. I feel like they do. Um, I think they're very smart people, even though you don't, that doesn't feel like they are. Where am I going with this with my ADHD? So deja vu, that's what I was talking about. The feeling of this having a conversation or being in a location before, or so I think that's where she kind of got it from, but because it was a dream, um she dreamt about it before being there. It's not like she went there and goes, "Oh my gosh, I was here before. I feel like I was here before." That's deja vu. That's why I said that her dream was more of a premonition dream. Um, but then also I can't explain, like, how she came across with this, where the location was, where people were unalived for going against political figures, or the political, what the government wanted you to do. Um, let's see. Have you watched the telepathy tapes? So good. Telepathy. Am I saying telepathy tapes? No, I have not. Thank you. That's two things I have to watch now. I'm getting surgery July 8th on my knee, and I have a week off. I'll watch it. I have two torn meniscuses, a flipped fragment in there, and I've been living with this god awful pain since April. I'm finally getting surgery. I can't wait for that. So I will watch that. The telepathy. Anybody's welcome. If somebody wants to come on and share a story, I can message you the link to come on, and you can come on and talk and tell your story. But deja vu kind of freaks me out a little bit more than the premonition stuff, because deja vu just, I mean, I've experienced it so much, where you feel like I'm having a conversation. I have the ones where it's like we were having this conversation. It was all of us together. Like we talked about this. I know we talked about this. Um, oh, okay. It's about autistic people having telepathy. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to check that out. And I believe it. I believe that they have gifts that go unseen because other things are more prevalent than that, and it's unfortunate. But deja vu freaks me out, because there's a lot of things I can't remember, right? So when, and that's just because I have ADHD, ADHD brain, like 100%. Like I am the poster child for it. And so my memory is good, but not that good. So when I am having a conversation with somebody and I'm like, we've had this conversation before. We've talked about this. We were in this spot, me and you, we were talking, and the other person's like, no, we haven't. Are you really? Are you serious? Like, where in the brain is there something that could create that? Or did it happen in a parallel universe, if that would exist? If parallel universes exist, do I exist in this parallel universe that I'm living a different life, but sometimes they intertwine, you know? Um, time lapses, like, is that a parallel universe? There's so many weird things like that I feel fall under the same umbrella, like as premonitions and deja vu. And let's see. Mary says, deja vu is almost like it's happened on a different time. Yes, yeah, but you're with all the same people, and like to me, that's cool, because that means that you know the deja vu I experience, that means that no matter where I am in life, I'm with that person, or I was with that person, you know what I mean? And we've had this conversation before. I just wish I we knew more about deja vu. I'm sure I've not looked it up. I did my show without looking any of this stuff up or looking up any studies or looking up anything like that. I wish I would have. But it kind of just came to me last night when I was reading Zhang's message. I was like, wow, this is like a good topic to talk about because, it kind of anything that's not normal falls under the paranormal umbrella. Anything. And it's definitely, premonitions and like, how do the skeptics, and I'm asking, I'm not doubting the skeptics, but how do skeptics, when it's a personal experience like that, how do they debunk that? Or how can they say, okay, they'll say it's your brain, like, but where does it come from? Especially when I've never had a deja vu where both people say they've experienced that they are experiencing this conversation. That would be really cool. Like if we were sitting here right now talking and I'm like, I'm having deja vu. And they're like, I'm having deja vu with this same exact thing. Um, that would be cool. I've walked into places and I'm like, I've been here before. I've had this conversation. I've seen this woman before, like, it happens to me a lot. Um, Hey, Jing, I just read your story. Let me see. I'm trying to put your comment up. I don't know if it's up, but Jing is here. Um, and let me see. There she is. Hi, Jing. I just read your story. We're talking about premonitions and deja vu. So, um, I found your dream and story fascinating enough to share it with everybody because it really is. I mean, it's not a subject that's really talked about too much that I've seen anyway. Um, so I asked her if she wanted to come on. She's probably at work. I think she works now when Paranormal Brew is on. She might be on her way to work. I'm not sure, but yeah. I mean, you have we have premonitions, we have deja vu, which I mean, I could be wrong, but I feel like they fall under the same umbrella. They could. I mean, you're either, I don't want to miss your show, of course. I love you. I love her. She's in Indonesia. And she always makes sure she checks in. I love her more than just a Paranormal Brew fan. I love her like a sister, actually. She's awesome. She's been a faithful follower of Paranormal Brew for a really long time. Thank you for being here. Um, I love her. Um, so yeah, like I'm trying to think. Like, I feel like I've only had those three. Oh, good. Yeah, it's a very interesting story. It really, really is. And I can understand. I was saying earlier that I can understand a Zhang how you would view that as deja vu because it was a place that you've seen before, but because you dreamt about it and then saw it, to me that makes it a premonition. Now, with deja vu, it's like you would have been at the place and you would have been like, I felt like I was here before. You know what I mean? And you know what? Maybe we all have dreams that are premonitions and we forget about our dreams. And then the stuff happens in real life and we're like, our subconscious brings it forward and it says, and you don't realize it was a dream because you forgot about the dream, but you start to have this conversation with somebody or you're in some place or you are somewhere and you're like, I've been here before, we've had this conversation. Maybe it did happen in a dream, but we just forget the dream, you know what I mean, completely. And you know we call it deja vu because we forgot about the dream, therefore it cancels out a premonition. You know what I mean? So, does that make sense? Am I making sense? I hope I'm making sense. Jing just so happened to remember her dream, but well, let's just say she didn't remember her dream and she saw that location. Would she then have been like, oh my gosh, I'm having deja vu because I feel like I've been here before? I've seen this location before. You know, like maybe that's what deja vu really is. Um, okay. Penny. Penny says, I had two things happen. One, before I knew my mom was sick, I saw her in her coffin. The other one was the other one was walked in a house and knew where everything was, and I had never been there before. So these, Penny, these were dreams, or you were like wide awake and this you've that's like remote, isn't that like, so so the premonition of your mom, so you were dreaming it. Okay. So, and you knew where everything was. So, and the other one was I walked in a house and knew where everything was and I had never been there before. Did the house thing happen in real life? Like you walked into this house and you knew where everything was? Okay. So the dream was your mom, and then walking around the house was something that happened in real life. Right. Okay. I got you. So she said the walking around the house and knowing where everything was what happened in real life, which is crazy when you think about, not crazy. I'm not saying you're crazy. I'm saying that is crazy. Like that would freak me out. Like how do I know where all this stuff is? You know what I mean? Like is it something that you dreamt about and you knew about, but subconsciously your mind just forgot it? Because a lot of times we wake up, we forget our dreams. A lot of people forget their dreams. And now that you went to this house and you knew where everything was, and you're probably thinking, how do I know where everything is? But think about that though. If that's like if that can happen, if we can see things happening in our dreams while we're dreaming, you know what I mean? Like and have conversations that will then really happen in later on in life, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is deja vu, you know, or like walking into a house and knowing where everything is. Um, you know, that's really cool. I don't know if there's ever been any studies about deja vu. You know what I mean? Like to me, that makes sense, really, that it would be a dream that you forget that you had. But that's really cool that you're able to have this premonition, even though you forget about it. But once the event actually happens, your mind goes back, way back into that little cabinet where it's stored, opens it up, and you're like, why do I feel like I had this conversation before? Why have I been here before? I've seen this before. Me and you were having the same exact conversation before. Like I've said it so many times, right? Um, oh, my knee, sorry. Maybe that's what's happening. Maybe our dreams and the ones that we don't remember, because the ones I do remember are really crazy. So I'm glad that those kind of things don't happen in real life, because I do have some really, really um, crazy dreams. Mary is saying, all these things come under ESP. It's an umbrella for all these paranormal things that are part of our minds. Yes, I agree. I can agree with that for sure. Yeah, they're all under that, telepathy and stuff like that. It's crazy to think that our minds are that powerful. But how do we, it's not like we're predicting the future, but how do we see the future in our dreams? How do we experience the future in our dreams? You know, it's kind of freaky. So if we're doing that, are we time traveling in our dreams? Are we what's the other ones? Not time traveling. Um oh my gosh, my mind's drawn a blank. Not time traveling. What is it when you travel when you're sleeping? Why am I drawing a blank? See? My memory is not good. So for me to be so for me to remember, oh, what is it called? Somebody help me. Um well, anyways, when you travel when you dream. Um I've been told that you can kind of train your brain to do that. That kind of scares me a little bit. Like, I don't think I would do that because I probably would travel to Brad Pitt's house. Just saying. Um, but you know, it's interesting. Astral travel. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary, for the save. Astral travel. So, alongside with the astral travel, like, are our brains really having? Are we astral projection? Okay, thank you, Destination Spooky. Thank you so much. I hear everybody's coming in for the answers. Thank you. Yes. Ajing says yes, time traveling. Yeah. Like, I wonder if that's really like what we're doing in our dreams. Like, yes, granted, I mean, like some of the dreams I have are like batshit crazy. So I know that that's not true. But what I'm talking about is the deja vu stuff or the things like a Jing experienced in her dream, or even visit dreams from loved ones that have passed away. I've had two in my life. I had two, maybe three, but two definitely. One from my dad and one from my mom. And only one. My dad's been gone 26 years this year, and my mom's been gone. Um, Let me see. 2023, so 3 years, and I've had one dream about both of them. Um, So, Destination Spooky saying you stop breathing and your spirit moves through a dream, etc. Okay. Jing is saying, yes, we were taken to the previous years that we've never knew before. Right. You in your dream experienced something that really happened, but or a place that really existed, but you didn't know existed and you didn't even know the events that occurred there. So that's pretty crazy. Hi, Yvette. How are you? Yvette's awesome. I love her. She really watches out for Paranormal Brew. I love her. She created a Paranormal Brew fans page, and she runs that, and she runs a lot of pages for people. But she's really good. She's awesome. So, just want to give her a shout out. But but even visit dreams, is like how do you explain feeling somebody in your dream? You know what I mean? Like feeling their skin and feeling them and hugging them and feeling them and it's funny because my mom and my dad both did not talk to me in my dream. I just hugged them, and um they didn't talk. They were okay, but they didn't talk, and the dreams lasted literally, it felt like for like a minute or two. It probably was a lot longer, but it only felt like a minute or two. But I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what any skeptic says. I don't care what any non-believer says. You know, there's something to what occurs when we sleep. Yes, we have dreams that mean nothing and are nonsensical and could just be crazy, weird, wacko dreams. I mean, it's funny because so here's one. I called it a nightmare because it was. I had a nightmare about Roscoe. I have them often about my babies. I'm scared to death to lose them. But anyway, I was in the ocean and I was with Roscoe and I was trying to hold Roscoe above the water and swim us to shore, which is very hard, if you can imagine. And kept having his head above water and waves kept coming and I couldn't get him high enough and I couldn't get him high enough and waves kept coming and like going over his head and I remember seeing this and I was trying so hard my arms were getting tired. I was trying to swim with just my legs because I was trying to hold Roscoe up above the water. Wake up. I had to take the cats to the vet the next day. And they have like these movie things in the rooms while you're waiting. And um there was like a FYI if you're taking your dog to the shore this summer and the video it was like a cartoon video but it was showing a dog swimming and it was showing waves going over the dog's head as the dog is like swimming and I'm like that's exactly what I dreamed about Roscoe last night. It's so crazy. So I mean it's something stupid but that's what my dream was last night the night before and then to go into the vet's office and then to see that, it was weird because it was exactly what I was looking at. I was watching, I was holding Roscoe up and the wave was kept going over his head. And um and then when I go to the vet's office the next day, this is what I'm seeing on the wall, you know. Thank God it was a cartoon. Hey Sage, how are you? Thanks for being here. Um so I wouldn't I wouldn't call that a premonition per se, but um I think it's weird. I mean, I don't know what you would call that. But and I remember texting Rob, so my husband's just not into any of this stuff. So I tell him stuff and he's like, "Okay, that's pretty cool." Whatever, you know? But like what is that? You know, what is all that and how do you explain that stuff, you know? I'm not saying I predict the future because that's not what that was. That it's not deja vu. It's not. Now maybe that would have been deja vu for me if I didn't remember my dream and then I saw that on the screen. I'd be like, I've seen this before. Where have I seen this before? So maybe it would have been deja vu, but you know, I remembered my dream. So then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's weird, you know? And that just happened. That just happened 2 nights ago. No, no, no. I took them last week. Sorry. It was last week. Um, but I thought that was pretty cool to have had, but I was like, and then of course, then my mind goes, oh my God, is this a sign? We can't take him to the beach. We can't let him go in the water. He wouldn't go in the water anyway, but he's afraid of the water. But I'm like, you know, is it a sign? Is that what we're, you know, is that like some divine intervention just popping in saying, you know, be careful. I don't know what any of it means. I we can do all the studies, you know, I know that there are some places that study all this stuff and I forget what one of the university is. Um but I and I don't want to give you guys the wrong information, so I'm not even going to try to say like I'm even. But I feel like one might be in Virginia or West Virginia, but I can't. I one there's a few universities that do actual studies of this stuff, um, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm sure there is a scientific explanation for the things that people experience in their dreams and then to real life, but I'm a kid at heart. So for me, I tend to fall more towards the spiritual side of things. You know, and tend to, you know, want to believe that it's something on the spiritual side. Because I want to believe that there's something after this, whatever it may be. So I partly believe it. I think it's weird. I mean, it's weird. How do you explain that kind of stuff? I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure that some, professor from some university that has been, or scientist or somebody, Kenny Biddle, even Kenny. I love Kenny, but I'm sure Kenny would be able to explain it. Um, but I think, and yeah, I'm not saying that on the scientific side of things that that's not true either. Like, I'm sure that maybe it could be 50-50. 50% of the times it is what the scientists or the researchers or the scientific side is correct, and this is what's occurring or this is what's happening. But I also believe that it also can be a spiritual thing, or it can be a ESP thing, or your brain is just on, when you're sleeping, your brain is on another level, like, and using parts of your brain that we don't use when we're awake. If you go into that deep REM sleep, um, who knows, like, what your mind is. Well, I can't say who knows, because I'm sure there's been studies about what happens when you're sleeping in your brain and everything, but um how do you show on a scientific level, how do you show if something is happening spiritually, or um, if we are unable to tap into those parts of our brains that would open up all kinds of stuff? How does a piece of equipment pick up on that and track that if we can't even do it ourselves? You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm trying here. And I'm just talking. Like, all this stuff is just coming to me as I'm talking. So it's not like anything that I've researched or looked into or, thought about. But I mean, like, I really just thought about the whole idea of not remembering dreams and then having a situation occur and it being a deja vu experience because you're not remembering what happened in the dream. But what would that be? Would that be a prediction? Would that be a premonition? Would that be, I don't know. Good evening. As your peace and comfort grows more with every healing breath, yes and yes. Thank you. That was a very positive little message there. Um, Keith, thank you. Um, Actually, it's Keith the Smooth Healer. um, so I think all that stuff is really interesting, and I'm going to probably do a little bit more research into it now that I've been talking about it, because you know, um, you know, I do believe, like I said, I do believe I had two visit dreams. I believe that Jing had this dream that she thankfully remembered, and then when she saw the place, she said, "Holy crap, that's in my dream." The same thing with what Penny said earlier. She had a dream. She said before she knew her mom was sick, she saw her in a coffin. That's kind of creepy. I wouldn't want to. Not creepy. That's wrong. That's sad and scary at the same time. Like, I wouldn't want to dream stuff like that. So I'm sorry um, that you had that, because that's got to be kind of traumatic, actually. But walking into a house and knowing where everything was when you were never there before, I mean, that's really cool. Um, and you have to wonder, did you dream about this place, and that's why you knew where everything was, but you just forget your dream? Um, and um, see, Sage says it's definitely interesting, Taryn. I would be interested to hear what, if anything, you discover. Yeah. Um, Keith says I practice remote viewing and remote healing. Oh, okay. So remote viewing came up a little bit too, because I had somebody on earlier that said that she walked into a place that she's never been before, and she knew where everything was. But it's not like she remembered like, she didn't have a dream about it and remembered it. She didn't she just walked in and she just knew where everything was in this house. I mean, that's kind of like, I've never had that type of experience. Um, so I think it's pretty cool. Um, and I believe when people believe they have these experiences, like, I believe these people when they say they have these experiences, because I have them. I have these. I'm sure we've all, like I said, there isn't one person I don't know that has not experienced deja vu. And like I said, could it come from dreams we don't remember? Um, and is it when we're in that deep REM sleep that it just opens up all kinds of brain brain areas that we don't use while we're awake? Um, Keith says it's step by. Oh, I'm sorry. This one first. Keith says it's the systematic psychic activation system, step by step method. Yeah, I heard that you can teach yourself to do these things. I heard you can teach yourself to astral travel, and remote view and all this and that. I would, they'd call it remote perception, though. Okay, remote perception. Never heard of that. I'll have to look into that. Um, but yeah, it's a very interesting thing to think about. And let's see. Rice University. Thank you. Oh yeah, and Rhine. You're right. So Mary just gave Rice University, Standard University, Stanford University, Rhine Center, Dean Radin, scientist and researcher in the area, and the Hall, put off physicist. Yes. Um, the Rhine one is the one that I was thinking of. Thank you. Um, because I've heard of that. I had Doc Molnar on, and he had talked about the Rhine University before. Um, I use the Keith says I use the color linking method. Hmm. Sage says um, it's postulated that time is not strictly linear. It may be a memory from a different time frame. It is a deep rabbit hole. It is. I'm telling you. That's why I said, like in the beginning. I know you got here a little late, but in the beginning, I'm like, is it time lapse? Is it time travel? Is it like another plane that, like who knows? And then I went into, having dreams that we don't remember. And, you know, is that, we're having these premonition dreams of having these conversations with people or being in these places. And then we forget we have the dream because not everybody remembers all their dreams. We forget about the dream. But then when we have the experience, we're like, why was I here before? Why am I having this conversation before? I feel like I've been here before. Okay. The Rhine is in Virginia. You see how my brain works? I'm like, I want to say it's in Virginia, West Virginia. So yeah, the Rhine is in Virginia. Okay. Jing says, Taryn, I think I will tell you more later through chat, but maybe you will laugh. Before I had a relationship with the person you know about now, I had actually seen his face even before I met him in the paranormal field through a premonition. It was meant to be, Jing. You should move to the United States so that we can hang out. And it was meant to be. Um, Keith says our mind is metaphorical, um, archetypal. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Archetypal or archetypal, non-linear, linear all at the same time. Non-linear and linear all at the same time. That is complex. Our brains are complex. They are powerful tools. I mean, think about it. When you take a female or a woman, and our minds can make us think we're pregnant when we're not, and make us think we're not pregnant when we are. I've seen both. I mean, like women go through all the symptoms and signs and symptoms of both, and you know, like how does the brain operate like that? Like it's the most powerful tool we have. Um, Let me see. Sage is saying another member of the community shared that she saw her husband and brother in law once before she had even met them. It was an incredible story. That's crazy. And when I say crazy, I don't mean woohoo crazy. I just mean amazing crazy. So crazy to me is amazing, unless I say batshit crazy, then that's what I mean. But when I say crazy, I mean it's amazing to have those. Like, I think that that's awesome. I mean, like when she saw them, she was probably like, "Oh, he's the one." Keith says, I share my verbal medicine skills, helping others release their pains, fears, and phobia. See some interesting patterns daily. Wow. That's like a lot. Maybe I could have you on my show one time, Keith, and we can talk about some of this stuff because that sounds interesting to me. Um, especially like uh, verbal medicine skills, helping others release their pains, fears, and phobia. I have a lot of phobias. Um, well, not a lot, but my biggest phobia is dying. That's my biggest phobia, which is why I do what I do. Hey, Doug. Um, bec- that's why I paranormal investigate. That's why I want to find out if this really exists because I'm so afraid of dying that I want to know that I I'm hoping there's something after this. So I totally like wanna wanna find something. I want confirmation. I want evidence. I want all this stuff I want to have these experiences that I have because I want to think that there's something after this. Um, so um, that's my biggest phobia. I literally take medicine at night to go to sleep, or else I'll be up all night long. I've had few experiences that have left me not fearing death. Yes. So people have near death experiences and I don't know if it's a near death experience, but I do know that the people that I've had on that share their near death experiences, they're not afraid to die because they've experienced something after. And I do believe them, but it's still the same thing. Like I need to experience, I don't want to have a near death experience, but I feel like I would have to experience it myself, you know? Um, oh, I definitely, for me, I've had a neck injury for sure. Not like well, I almost had to have neck surgery. Um, so yeah, I didn't, thankfully, but I almost had to have neck surgery. Um, Oh, really? Doug says his girlfriend had a near death experience, a minor one, but very freaky. Yeah, near death experiences. Like I had a couple of guests on to talk about their near death experiences, and they're very interesting. I went through this thing when my mom died because when my mom died, I started to question the afterlife, and I started to question whether or not you know spirits can exist and stuff like that. Because I'm going to tell you, my mom got me into this. My mom everything that I'm passionate about, she got me into. So I'm like, if anybody's going to come back and communicate with me, it's going to be her. Now 6 months after she passed, I had a very quick visit dream with her. But still, I feel like she would be the one that would walk into this room right now and be like, hi, Taryn. You know what I mean? Because she believed in all this stuff like before I did. She got me into it. Um, I have had spine surgery. Um, So, so Keith is saying, now and in the future, as your fear of death expresses, press your thumb and finger once as peace and comfort builds, twice as peace and comfort deepens, more with every healing press. Yes and yes. Okay, I'll try that. I will try that. Thank you, Keith. I not Doug or Sage is saying I nearly died at 11 years old. After that, I've had a lot of things happen to me over the years. Yeah. I mean, it's having a near death experience has got to be a total game changer for how you live life after that. I mean, it's got to be a total game changer. To like almost almost die or die and come back and I mean, I don't know. It sounds like I don't want to experience it, but and I believe those that I had on. I believe their stories. I believe what they had happen. I mean, I had Don Molnar on, and he was an ER physician, and he told me he told me a story about even a patient that died on the table, and he got back, and he said when this patient came through, and woke up, he told me things that happened while we were trying to keep, revive him and this and that and this and like he told me things that he couldn't have known because he was not breathing. He had coded. He was flatlined. He was not here, or he was, not alive at the moment. Um, Stories like that intrigue me. You know, um, yeah, I do. I have to take medicine to go to sleep because I'll lay in bed. Don't laugh at me. I laugh at myself. My husband laughs at me. Like, I literally will think of the most crazy ways that I could die. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh." It's crazy. And then I got to take medicine to go to sleep. It's crazy. I'm so afraid to die. That's probably my biggest fear. Um, After that is cockroaches. Oh God. A lot of people say that fears come from like a past life or something like that, which past life also, falls into the same category that we're talking about, past lives. If people believe in past lives, which some cultures automatically do, some people do. I have seen few things where, you know, shocked me or surprised me of people who have claimed to have had a past life. Um, but I don't know if I fully believe in that, but I don't knock anybody that does. Is there so Keith is asking, is there a color related to your deepest peace and comfort? First impression, Tiffany blue. I love Tiffany blue. I love that color. I will always pick that color. Um, but for sure, Sage is laughing. Yeah. Um, yeah, roaches are ugh. And I'm always like, what happened to me in a past life where I literally will run out of a building if I will run out of a building if I see a roach. I can't even kill them. I can't touch them. Nothing. I can't. And I always joke like something must have happened. Was I like stuck in a roach infested place? And oh my god, even saying the word makes my skin crawl. Um, See, I learned you don't have to be possessed to climb up a wall backwards. Just have a spider drop down in your lap. Now, I'm not afraid of spiders. I let them live their life. I'm like, whatever. But I let everything live their life. Like I'm like I'm over the top with it. My husband thinks I'm crazy. I'm literally he bought me a special skimmer for the pool because I go out there and I save bugs out of the pool. I save everything. I don't kill anything. Even the lantern flies. I'm sorry. Everybody says they're bad. I know they're bad, but I can't kill anything. I can't even kill a plant, let alone a living, breathing thing. So somebody else is gonna have to kill the lantern fly. Oh, my mom hated slugs, Mary. My mom hated slugs. She did. Um, Keith is saying now and in the future, as fears arise, and you just automatically and naturally breathe in all that Tiffany blue into your deepest peace and comfort, more and more with every healing breath. Yes, and yes. Okay, I will. Um, I do too. I usually take them outside. It just was a surprise. Yeah. Um, I do. I try to say. I even say flies. I take flies outside. I'll grab a fly, throw it outside. We had ants. Ants. I like. We had ants one year, and I had to step outside because my husband committed genocide with these ants. And I'm like, I can't even see it. I can't watch it. They're just living their life. They're doing what ants do. It's not their fault. Like I immediately humanize everything, humanize feelings, everything. And I'm like, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. They're just doing what they got to do. But how do you get rid of ants? Like, there's really no other way, but I can't watch it. I hate them. I know. I hate roaches too, but I can't kill them. I can't even touch them. I run. Um, Thank you, Keith. I appreciate your time and oh, speak of the devil. I was talking about you. I was talking about you. I said Kenny could probably explain everything. Kenny explains it all. That should be your show now. Kenny explains it all. How are you doing, Mr. Biddle? Um, Went apocalypse breaker on ants, right? Yes, he committed genocide. It was insane, but I couldn't watch it. I had to go outside because I felt so bad. I'm like, they're just being ants. That's what ants do. They're just good little worker ants. And they're just, but I couldn't do it. Hopefully, if there is a heaven, I will get into heaven. And because I have saved a lot of little lives. I have saved a lot of little lives, ones that most people wouldn't save. Yes, Kenny, I was talking about you. We were talking about deja vu and premonitions and um, predictions and dreams that we have. And I was like, I'm sure if anybody could explain any of this, it would be Kenny Biddle. And then you show up. Do you have like radar or something in your brain where it's like if like when somebody's talking about you, you just show up. Every time I say Biddle, it's like 5 minutes later. Here's Kenny. Hey, Kenny explains it all. I love you, Kenny. Um, wow, it's been an hour and 12 minutes already. I can't believe I sat here and talked for that long all by myself. Um, but next week, I'm having a different kind of show. So I hope you guys join me. Um, and I think this is still happening. If not, I might still do it. But so Stevie from Truth or Demons podcast is going to come on, and we're going to do a show about the Mackenzie Sharilla case. I'm going to call it Thrilla Sharilla. That's going to be the name of the show because now all of a sudden there's paranormal stuff happening within this case. So not only are we going to talk about the case, we're going to talk about the paranormal things that have been occurring allegedly. I don't believe I will be the first one to say, Stevie will be the second. I don't believe any of the paranormal stuff that is coming forward, especially the spirit box people that are saying they're communicating with the two men that passed in this car. But we are definitely going to be diving a little bit into it. Yeah, so it should be a good show next week if you guys are still catch me Wednesday at 8:30. It's a wave. The antenna catches it. Haha, ESP. Yeah, yeah. Nope. Look, see? No, I'm not psychic. No one is. I just have good timing. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Keith. I appreciate it. Um, so I hope everybody enjoyed tonight's discussion. I know it was kind of all over the place because my ADHD, and I was trying to, talk about so many different things. But I am gonna try to do a little bit more research into it. Maybe maybe have a the three tortured souls on to talk about it, because I love picking their brains about stuff when it comes to when it comes to stuff like this. Um, so we could argue all night. Mary says that. I think she's talking to Kenny. Nobody's psychic, not even Tyler Henry, huh? Doug. Hi from the UK. How are you? Thank you for joining us. Um, Language doctor, I didn't even know you were here. You should have said hi. Thank you. Thanks for show, Tara, and enjoyed the whole discussion. Thank you so much. Um, and Sage says, I know mental telepathy exists because Star Trek told me so. That's funny. Yeah, I'm going with that too. That's what I said. I had Kenny. I actually had Kenny and Ben Rafford on to talk about the entity case, and my whole life, I yes, I know Tyler Henry is a hack. They yes, yes. Um, oh, thank you, Keith. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, I don't know what I was about to say. My ADHD. But I want to thank everybody for being here and watching and commenting and being here. Thank you for the subs. And hopefully next week you'll join me, and and we're gonna have a good show next week. I love Stevie, so hopefully she'll come on. But if not, I'll do the best I can to discuss the. I've been really watching and following that story and that case, and then the paranormal stuff started to happen. I'm like, oh no, no, no. so so yeah. So please join me next week, 8:30 p.m. Right here, Paranormal Brew. Until next time, sweet dreams, y'all.